The time is 2 p.m. and this is the Tuesday edition of Market View right here on Eswatini TV. My name is Notelisitole, and coming up in our update today, we bring you the latest on the SBS conversion into a bank. That's one you definitely do not want to miss. Also on the program, as the festive season nears, consumer activity in Eswatini reaches its peak, with thousands of people flooding shops and online platforms in search of goods and holiday specials. However, this period also brings heightened risks of unfair business practices. To safeguard consumers, you and I, the Eswatini Competition Commission will kick off the festive season consumer protection campaign this Thursday, aimed at educating, protecting and empowering consumers across the country. And today we speak to the Commission to understand the purpose of this campaign, the trends they have observed over the years, and of course the measures in place to ensure that businesses operate fairly and in line with the Consumer Protection Act. But first, our business news. In our business news, the SBS Bank, Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland Building Society, has spent over 20 million emalangeni so far to convert into a bank since 2012. This has been shared by the Managing Director, Mbalis Banyoni, during an Editors Forum media briefing at Mountain View in Mbabane.
We started 2012, and each year we spend a budget. It's in excess of 20 million. The whole thing, because it has been a very long journey with the consultants and all other things, systems that we've had to put in. You'll recall with our core banking system, we did that in preparation for the banking. So there's quite a number of systems that we have put in. It's been a huge amount, but I want to assure you, GOG has been budgeted for because we were deliberate in terms of what we wanted to achieve. Yes, does it mean we will not be spending more? Yeah, when we move into the banking space, there's still some systems that we want to have, but I don't think it tabang the huge budget that we were carrying over the years.
Velaphi Dlamini, Manager Legal and Board Secretary, explained about the second phase of the conversion.
The company now has been registered as approved by the members in the previous special general meeting. The company is in the process of being registered and has been registered. So what will happen now is that the board will meet and determine what we call the register date. The register date will be the 2nd of January 2026, wherein permanent shares will cease to exist, and there will be new products in the new classes of shares in the new company, which will be the ordinary shares and the redeemable shares. The redeemable shares are the shares for those members who are not yet sure whether they want to take the ordinary shares or not. That initial period will give the members the opportunity for a period of 90 days to make a determination whether they want ordinary shares or not, or whether they want to split a certain portion to ordinary shares and a certain portion to the term investment account. That period of the redeemable shares will end on the 90th day, which is the initial period, after which then there's going to be what we will call a mandatory redemption. The mandatory redemption that will happen at that point in time will ensure that redeemable shares are all redeemed. And for those members who will still be holding redeemable shares, all their funds are going to be transferred to the term deposit account, because they would have deemed to have chosen the term deposit account.
Sharing the future outlook, the SBS Bank has shared that after the banking license is issued, restrictions on shares will be lifted. The plan, according to the bank, is to introduce a liquidity mechanism within 3 years, potentially through Eswatini Stock Exchange listing over-the-counter trading platform. Reporting, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminko Sinzinisa, Mbabane.
Over 742,000 eMaswati are now using mobile money services, with transaction volumes rising to 17.4%, which is 12.9 million emalangeni this financial year. This has been shared by the Governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Philip Nisi, during the 2025 Annual Financial Stability Review.
Mobile money transaction volumes rose 17 2.4% to 12.9 million, while registered customers increasing 14.2% to 742,379. These trends highlight the system's adaptability and its role in broadening access to financial services. I'm happy to report that the launch of the Eswatini payment switch fast payment module has been successful from a participant perspective and with regards to initial market penetration. All 8 participants are now live on the EPS, with just 2 participants that are not yet interoperable with non-banks at present, a situation that will soon be rectified. Fast payments are averaging 2,500 transactions a day, with 44% of those volumes being driven by non-bank interactions. The system has proved resilient with an uptime of 99%.
And that is your business brief this afternoon. After the break, we're in conversation with the Eswatini Competition Commission. Stay tuned.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. You're still watching Market View. Onto this now. The festive season makes way for increased consumer spending and the risk of unfair business practices. This week, the Eswatini Competition Commission will initiate the National Consumer Protection Campaign to promote fair market conduct and, of course, help consumers make informed purchasing decisions. The Commission's Advocacy and Communications Manager, Mangoba Mabuza, joins me now in studio to unpack how the Consumer Protection Act works and what it means for both businesses and consumers. Mr. Mabuza, thank you so much for your time. Perhaps you could just give us some of the provisions of the Consumer Protection Act.
All right, thanks, Notsile. It's actually the Eswatini Competition, the Competition Act of 2007 that stipulates that products should not be harmful to consumers, and they shouldn't. Shops cannot sell products that are detrimental to the health of consumers. And two, amongst others, there is a clause around deceptive advertisement. We are not supposed to present products to be of a certain quality, style or shape or whatever form when they are not, when that is not so. And also, so we are mandated as a commission to enforce that legislation. And also we use the Fair Trading Act of 2001 as well, which also protects consumers. And also, yeah, I think those are the pieces of legislation that we enforce as a commission. So basically, consumers are supposed to be protected at all costs with regards to what they buy. So what we have seen of late is that there are instances where consumers will go to a shop, they buy products, and then some of the shops are not allowing them to return the goods if they are not of the agreed upon standard.
Right.
Yeah.
Given some of the provisions of the Competition Act, what would you say are probably the key things that a consumer needs to know in terms of rights?
Yeah, the consumer, first and foremost, they need to pay particular attention to what the product is about. For instance, we have been in partnership with municipal councils. For instance, Municipal Council of Mbabane, Manzini, whereby we go around shops, inspecting shops, and we have destroyed a lot of quality. They are not supposed to be consumed by human beings. So in terms of the state that their products are in. So consumers must be able to look at products, scrutinize, and be sure as to what is it that they are buying. Secondly, they need to understand what is in the contract. You know, the slips that you need to keep those slips whenever you're buying, because that's a contract. If you're buying electronic gadgets, for instance, you must keep all the receipts, all the manuals, the information, the warrant, because if you are now coming to the commission to lodge a complaint, we'll need all those documents. We'll need to understand what is the contract, what is the agreement with the shop. And also they should know that they have a right to return goods if they are not of the quality that was actually stipulated, be it through advertisement or at the time of purchase. The shop or the seller can actually, you know, sometimes they say buy one get one free, and if you get into the shop, it's not buy one get one free, or they'll just say the products now are finished. So there's a huge conversation in the world whereby customers will go to shops and find that it's not as advertised. So they'll say no, the products now are finished, when in actual fact there was no such product in the first place. So consumers need to scrutinize, need to be aware of their rights. They, if that fails, the Competition Commission is there to make sure that we resolve these issues, so they have a right to come and lodge a complaint with the commission.
So the Act does say, with regards to returning goods, I have the right to return a particular good that I'm not happy with as a consumer. But the stores, they have policies of their own. So perhaps retailer 1 says you may return it within a certain period of time, and retailer 2 says we don't have a return policy. Does the law say there should be perhaps a standard policy or regulation around that?
Yes, I think, look, the consumer protection legislation is actually superior to whatever policies you may have as an outlet. So if those policies are not consistent with the law, so they are null and void, they cannot be used in terms of legally. So what we do, we actually use the Act and the regulations to look into these issues, and consumers, insofar as the law is concerned, they have a right to return. So no one can say, no, we are not taking it back, tatile, no. So I think now, because it's a Christmas season, a festive season, there's people are in a shopping mode. We just want to actually advise people to know these rights. They have the right to return products.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you consider this season as high risk, as the Commission, of course, and perhaps you could take us through the upcoming festive season campaign?
Yes, I think, look, we know that people are now in a shopping mode, as I've just said. They are collecting checks and bonuses, and there's, for some reason, even if you don't have a 13 check or bonus, but for some reason, this is a season where people are just excited about buying. So the people are shopping. There's a lot of even outlets that may be actually may take advantage of taking products that are expired, for instance, looking at the volumes that they are supposed to sell now when people are coming in numbers, and just sell them. So those are some of the issues that we want to highlight as a commission now. We are launching a campaign on Thursday. We will be visiting consumers we'll be coming closer to consumers in Mbabane, in town, and also Eswatini town. We want to be able to interact with them as they buy products from the shops. We must we need to engage with them face to face. We must hear them out in terms of what they're experiencing from the shops, because it is a high risk in the sense that even electronic gadgets, people are buying. What we have seen as a commission, for instance, we have seen a number of cases around electronic gadgets. And you will know, because of it's a shopping season, people have got money and they're buying, and it's sales all over. So you can just buy a product that is not going to work in the manner in which it is advertised. So that is why we are now wanting to get closer to the people, so that if you've been launching a complaint, you don't need to do it by calling us or writing an email or coming to the offices. We just need to be around towns and engage with the people, lodge their complaint. They lodge a complaint, we investigate. Most of the time, we just resolve those issues amicably between the consumer and the shops.
Right. The Competition Act, what obligations does it place on businesses, whether retailers or in other sectors as well, not only during this period, but also just beyond, the festive season? And how does the Commission perhaps then ensure compliance or enforce compliance?
Yeah, also there's what is called the soft enforcement approach, which mostly is the advocacy initiatives. Right now, we are just educating business while we're here. We do it also through radio program. We have a weekly radio program, newspaper articles, reaching out to consumers at Tinkula level. That is soft enforcement. We're educating. We are also conducting workshops, bringing business on board in terms of raising awareness and educating them in terms of what the law stipulates. But the law also empowers us to resolve those issues. Most of the time, for instance, last year alone, the past financial year, out of 74, 73 of the cases were resolved amicably, successfully by the Commission. You buy a fridge, it's not working. They are not able to take it. They are refusing to take it back the shop. We come in, we facilitate, there's a conversation. The consumer is actually... their rights are considered, and we resolve it. But also we can carry out an investigation.
Yeah.
We are the secretariat as the staff of the Commission, and we take these investigations to the reports to the Board of Commissioners, which has got the adjudicative function. So they adjudicate, and they act as judges on competition and consumer protection issues. So it can get into that level where the board has to pronounce itself on certain issues. But in most of the cases, they don't reach that stage because of the conversation and bringing together the consumers and the shops.
Before enforcement, as the Commission, given the law, how do you then encourage or expect, rather, businesses to be running business this time of year?
Businesses must be, we know they are in the business of making money. They are making profit. That is the essence of a business. You want to make money. But it mustn't come at the expense of consumers who are either gullible or unsuspecting or not knowledgeable when it comes to their rights. So we just want to encourage them to be transparent and to act in accordance with integrity, accountability, transparency values as business, and also to adhere to the law in terms of the stipulations of the law. They mustn't advertise products. You must not advertise products in a manner that deceives the consumer. Deceptive advertisement is not allowed. They must also not sell products that are expired, products that are not as that in good quality, or that are detrimental to the health of consumers. So those are the things that they must know. Also, they should know that consumers have a right to return a product if they are not happy with its quality or whatever it takes. As long as I've not used the product, here's a phone, I'm getting with the phone at home, whatever, or it's a fridge, or sometimes if you buy a watch, they will say if it doesn't develop like any issues within 12 months, you can take it back to the shop. You'll find that there's an agreement, and if you return it, some of them will say tatile, that is not allowed. Those are the things that they should know as shops.
How can consumers then go about reporting unfair business practices, and then how soon does the Commission respond to that?
We respond immediately. So now we have got a WhatsApp number, which is 76062962. We respond immediately. So they can call, they can text, send a WhatsApp or a text message. We will respond immediately, and we resolve issues. We resolve them. Like even now, there are investigators on the ground that are working, dealing with those issues. Exclusive, and our consumer protection department is busy with that at the moment. And through the festive campaign, we are not only sharing knowledge to consumers, but we are also saying they can come and lodge a complaint, and we are coming closer to them in the town to make things easier. For instance, if you are here in Babane, you are buying an electronic, or you are just buying any item really, because it's not just electronic gadgets, and it has got an issue. And if you are here now, we've got a pop-up stall here in Babane. You can just come to us quickly. We go to the shop, we resolve it immediately, and you are happy. So that's why we're coming closer to our consumers and even the shopping outlets, because we are not only, we are fair. If the consumer is on the wrong, that's what our report will conclude. And sometimes they will say, don't put this watch in water, and you put it in water and it develops some issues, and then you bring it to us and say this shop is refusing. But if our investigation finds that you did not adhere to what was said by the shopping outlet, then you are on the wrong. The report will say that, and it's resolved that way. So it's not always that it will go to the it is not always going to favor the consumer, like at whatever cost it must know. It doesn't work like that. Yeah.
In 30 seconds, I'd like for us to wrap it up. But my next one is actually my last one.
Okay.
Should probably be a reminder or a stern warning to businesses. What are the penalties or corrective measures that are provided under the Act or regulations that you've touched on, that when businesses violate consumer rights, these are then the consequences?
There are serious consequences. Look, if it gets into the board level, for instance, where they adjudicate a matter, there are penalties that will range to people going to jail, the directors of the company, or even being, if it's administrative fines, that can go up to 10% of their total annual turnover if they are found to be on the wrong. So it's serious. There are consequences in terms of the law. Right. Yeah. So it's just to warn anyone that is selling product that, look, they should be transparent, they should be clear in terms of processes, and they must respect the rights of consumers.
Mabuza, thank you very much for your time. To retailers, businesses, respect the rights of consumers. That was Mabuza, who is the Advocacy and Communications Manager at the Eswatini Competition Commission. We were discussing many other issues that include consumer protection, especially this season. As a consumer, you do need to know your rights. And for the businesses, deceptive marketing is discouraged. Market analysis coming up shortly.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Welcome back now for our market analysis segment. Economist Sanele Sibia joins us virtually. Mr. Sibia, glad to have you with us. Always a pleasure. What's your look of global markets today?
Good afternoon to you, Notile, and also a good afternoon to the viewer. So today what we're seeing is probably, the chaos before the storm. in terms of the US markets, where we're just watching to see, waiting for the Fed to actually cut the interest rates. That's what markets are pricing in. But we're seeing a bit of some losses, in terms of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, losing some 215 points in today's trade, and the Nasdaq Composite lost some 32 points, and then a Standard & Poor's Index, they lost some 23 points. So that's largely driven by the fact that, we know that we're going to get an interest rate cut this time around, but it's an issue of will we see further easing going into next year? And if you look at the data, it keeps on giving a bit of a mixed picture there in terms of whether we're going to see a lot of further easing in the next year. So we're just waiting to see what those minutes will tell us and what will tell traders. But we're just seeing a bit of some bearish sentiments coming through from the investors, not taking as much risks. Also largely linked to the fact that those valuation fears still linger on the markets. And then if we move across the pond to London, you can see the London Stock Exchange is sitting at 96.50 in today's trade, relatively flat, showing some 0.6 percentage points gains. Germany maintains that 24,000 mark, gaining some 102 points in today's trade. And, France, they're losing some 29 points in today's trade. So we're seeing the markets in Europe being shored by the increase in defense stocks. And, because markets are pricing in, the fact that as we continue seeing talks around the Russia-Ukraine war, those peace talks, we do expect Europe to take up a huge brunt of that spending. And that's where we're seeing the money going into right now, that speculative demand. And then coming into France, as we can see that, it's largely linked to the performance of those luxury brands as we come into the festive season. Jumping to Asia, the Nikkei is holding steady above 50,000, and we're seeing the Hang Seng and the Shanghai Composite Index, showing some signs of losses. Hong Kong, they're losing some 331 points, with, Shanghai losing some 14 points there. So that speaks largely to those fundamental weaknesses within the property sector, largely in Hong Kong and also within China, Beijing there. So, but we are expectant of those stimulus talks. And then also markets here are also just frozen a bit while we're waiting to see how overall, the market is going to perceive the news of an interest rate cut in the US and what is to happen next in terms of that interest rate trajectory within the US economy. In South Africa, we're sitting steady at 110,000, losing some 655 points. So now that is largely driven by the fact that we are expectant of that interest rate cut, and there is a bit of that, low risk appetite in markets. And then also we do know there's quite a lot happening within the geopolitical tensions there. So you would have expected that with the stronger Lilangeni, we should be, attracting a bit of more foreign investors to come into that market. In Eswatini, we have not seen any changes. Gold continues to stay around the $234,000 per ounce mark, and Brent crude still there steady at 62. So gold continues to act as a hedge, and with Brent crude oil, it's more signals. Right now it's more SAA demand constraint than it is an oversupply constraint. We expected the price of Brent crude to somehow average around 65 over the festive season, but it seems we are not getting that boost that we expect, to drive the festive season, market purchases. In terms of the Lilangeni and the dollar exchange rate, we are sitting steady at 17.03 against the dollar, at 19.83 against the euro, and you would need 9 yuans for 1 Lilangeni in today's trade. That's largely driven by the fact that as we are expectant of that interest rate cut to come through from the US, so we do expect the Lilangeni to stay at that 17 range, at that lower 17 range, until we get the news coming through. Thank you, Notsile.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spear. That was our in-house economist, Anile Spear, helping us make sense of the day's trade. This has been Market View. Until the next edition, bye-bye.